Hello, everyone, and welcome to Business Spotlight. I'm Mark Hunter of Action Coach, and today I have got Marc McCallum with me. Now, Mark's got a really interesting story to tell because not only is he a business owner, but also a part-time football player as well, currently playing for Forfar Athletic up here in Scotland, and started off his career at Dundee United. I used to sign him as a young lad on Football Manager, actually. And that's actually how last week at an event, when I bumped into Mark, I was like, that face looks familiar. I've seen it somewhere. And here he is today. The face is on our business spotlight. So, Mark, thank you so much for taking part today. How you doing?
Not bad at all. No, thanks very much for obviously the invite here to be on this podcast or the show even. So yeah, it'll be once I met you yesterday. I don't think a lot of guys that might come across who are in the sports world and have their own businesses. There is a number of people out there, but it's not a very high number. So yeah, looking forward to showing telling some tales, shall we say.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing them, Mark, without a doubt. So, first off, this is a mainly a business interview. I will talk a little bit about football though, because I do love football, and I think a lot of our viewers as well will love football as well. But again, I think the unique thing about Scotland is that part-time sort of work as well. You know, if you're a footballer, sometimes you will have to work part-time, and you're running your own business, and it's JM Fire Protection. So, Mark, can you tell us a little bit about your business then?
Yeah, we started JM Fire Protection back in 2021 uh, with a view to offer businesses around Scotland pretty much not a one-stop shop, but a trusted company that they could go to for all their fire protection needs. We specialise in fire extinguishers and fire extinguishing equipment. We maintain fire hydrants across the country. We also carry out some fire risk assessments for a number of clients as well. And we also do a bit of staff training, building up general staff knowledge within the workplace and understanding fire safety and how important it is. So, yeah, it's quite a big business now that we're starting to manage. We've got a high number of clients that we look after. But yeah, we try and offer as much independent and knowledgeable services to these clients across Scotland. And yeah, it's been going really well.
Fantastic, fantastic. And what what was it that made you want to go into business for yourself and start your own business then, and especially within the industry that you've gone into, fire protection then?
Yeah, I was in a similar previous role at a previous company, and I just felt as if that within the fire safety, there's a lot of events that have happened, disastrous events that have happened across the United Kingdom, Grenfell being one of them. But there's been a more current theme that's been going on as well, especially in Scotland. There's been some high-profile fires as well. So I just think the fire industry is it's a serious industry, and I just felt like at the previous company, it was just my time to obviously leave. I wanted to go into a role where I had the free reign to not do what I want, but express my views on what I thought fire safety was all about, and making sure that clients get the right knowledge. Yes, we understand as a business owner that figures are important. We all know that, but um, I think within an industry like fire or health and safety, it's paramount that the information that's provided is accurate. So that was one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to go off my own, is to provide accurate and knowledgeable information to any businesses that were looking for it.
Excellent, yeah. Admirable for the reasons for what you're saying there. That yeah, Grenfell, it was
Mhm.
terrible, terrible what happened. And yeah, I live in Perth. There was a factory in a year ago hit, about a year ago. Yeah, a year ago now. So yeah, absolutely, admirable, Mark, admirable. Thanks for being so honest. And what's been your biggest learning though as a business owner in that time?
Lots of things. um, it was all probably done in the back of a fag pack at the start. I'm not going to lie, that's the way it kind of was. It was just ideas. It was just ideas that we had. Well, I certainly had in my head, probably just after COVID, that I was wanting to do this because I knew, and I'll just touch on the football for a second, that I knew the football would stop at some point. So I had to make sure that financially, once that payment, that income stream does stop, we need to make sure that it was going to be covered with another aspect, and I wasn't going to get it. Obviously, at my previous company, it was the stars were never going to align. So I did a bit of pre-planning, like I said, maybe on the back of a fag packet, and then kind of just dived into the world of the business. And yeah, eyes were open very quickly with how much I didn't know about business. But don't get me wrong, there's some fantastic help out there and guidance to get you to get you started. I use Business Gateway, and Stuart Milne was my advisor there. So obviously can't thank him enough for the help. He is also a massive football fan as well. He won't mind me saying he's a massive United fan. So he was more than happy to offer all his advice to help me get the business started. Which obviously entailed a business plan. Never written one before. Actually panicked over the business plan when I first actually started writing it because there was that much attention to detail that I'd never seen before. And that provided some stumbling blocks right off at the start, going, well, Mark, how are we gonna fund this? That was an interesting conversation with my wife. So we had to dip into our own pockets to get this started. So we didn't go for like any grants or any funding. We just took the money out of our own current accounts, savings accounts. Um, Credit to my wife Jodie, she stood by me and went, "You'll make it work." So yeah, you need money for any business to get started. So learning about how accountancy works, bookkeeping works, getting used to it. For example, we use QuickBooks still within our own business model, which is absolutely fantastic because we are a small business. But honestly, Matt, there was just so much that my eyes were just open to. And that's probably just a small segment that we've touched on there.
Yeah.
Cash flow, knowing what your business model is going to be, what target audience you're going to hit. Thankfully, within the fire industry, every single building you walk into will have some sort of fire-related safety within it. So
Yeah.
we knew that target market was big, but we had to then look at the competitors out there and go, well, where would GM Fire Protection sit? And that's where the football hand in hand and how business works, in my opinion, anyway, is that people want to put a face to the business, and if using their football connections, it kind of works because you can go into a business and start speaking about football, and next thing you know, you've got a business contract at the end of it. So yeah, yeah, I've had to learn a lot of things, and about I've never been one for shyness and to go and cold call places. I spoke to my dad, who was a salesman in a role for a company called Otis, who sold lifts all over the world. And he went to me, Mark, the best thing you can do is literally just chap on the door and walk in. And I was like, well, Dad, you can't do that because of COVID. He went, COVID's done. We've got to live with it. Just get out there and chap doors. And I did. And some of the stuff we picked up was just absolutely fantastic. And to get some feedback from some clients, especially that went, Mark, we've not seen a representative walk into this building for 4 years, and you're just popping in trying to get a little bit of business. And some people have been absolutely fantastic to support. So yeah, just go back to your question. I know I was kind of on a tangent there, but I've had to learn a lot of techniques, how to get new clients into the business. Going back onto the accountancy side of things, business planning for the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Had to become a very good handyman at DIY and stuff within our own workshops and stuff that we've got. I mean, the list has been endless, Mark. And if I was to ever say to myself, if I start the business again, I think we have spent a good year planning on how to start it instead of maybe a couple of weeks just jotting down notes. So yeah, it's been fascinating, shall we say?
Yeah, yeah, it certainly has, and from that answer, honestly, there's so much learning there, and so much information and helpful tips there for anyone who's going to watch this that is thinking about going into business. You talked about reaching out for help. Business Gateway have been excellent for you.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing, cold calling, or well,
Mm-hmm.
door to door. That fantastic, Mark. You're doing it all. You're doing great. Keep going. And that's it. And I think in business, you've got to absolutely you got to exhaust every sort of marketing strategy, sales strategy you can. And
You're absolutely spot on there, Mark. Like social media, I'm 30, and my wife always says to me, "You should be up with technology." And I've never been one for technology, but social media, um, and just posting on that, I find that very difficult because I'm not a social media type of person. So I've had to get my wife in and help out where she's had to really help the social side of things because I am so far out of touch with it. But
yeah,
with what I've learned, it's everybody's on it. Everybody's on it. So if you get your branding out on obviously the social media side of things, it's massive. And yes, you can outsource. You know, we could probably get into about outsourcing later on in this conversation, but there's just so much out there that I didn't have a clue about.
but now you do, and
Yeah.
that's part of the learning, isn't it? That it so is. What you know, you kind of talked about Business Gateway, and I think it was Steve that you said,
Oh,
sorry,
Stuart Milne.
Stuart, sorry,
Yeah.
Stuart, who's been a big help there. Has there been anyone else like a leader or perhaps a coach or something, or someone, sorry, you know, that's really helped you along in this incredible journey that you're on at the moment?
Yes, there's a couple, and it's probably not even like public figures, you know. If it wasn't for my wife and it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't be where I am. Purely and simply, if my wife didn't trust me with all that money to go and invest in a business, we wouldn't be here. She has seen all the ups, the downs, the 3 o'clock in the morning, pulling my hair out, can't get things to work, or panic about cash flow. It's a driven factor. And then starting to think, well, have I done the right decision? Have I just wasted all this money that, you know, we should have kept? And then obviously to my dad that, I mean, he sat me down one day with just a massive book of how to get sales. And I need to touch off my fire safety hat off here and put my business minded cap on and be like, well, you need money to make the business work. So getting his techniques of just even getting your foot in the door in some places and get a conversation started with a business was massive. So if it wasn't for those two people, my wife and my dad, I wouldn't be in the position that we are. But yeah, we've had a lot of supportive people around me. A lot of friends have been fantastic as well, helping with word of mouth. It's been a big thing that word of mouth in our business is massive. You know, and nothing better when you get a phone call from somebody that says, "Oh, we've been recommended by so and so to use your services." That's the biggest compliment you can get in business, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, going back to the question, definitely my wife and my dad, they were two massive factors in getting us to where we are.
Amazing, amazing, and I love the fact that your dad also gave you sales books as well. Because Action Coach with our clients and anyone we talk to, we're always sharing books. You learn so much from a book, especially in regards to sales, marketing, anything to do with business. Was there a particular book that you found really good, or a
Oh,
writer maybe?
I probably shouldn't have said a book. It was like literally a folder. I called it the book because it was a ring binding folder of information on how to approach people. And my dad, over the years, my dad used to work for Bridgestone down in England, one of the biggest probably tire manufacturers in the world. Um, and they were obviously giving tips and advice. So this folder was from the 1990s, just with either his writing, my dad's writing, or pamphlets, or just things that he's been picked up on courses over the years. And some of the stuff that was in this folder, I was like, Dad, you store a load of crap. But I'm not gonna lie, within that folder was just little bits of genius, in there. And he had it throughout his whole career. And that's when he sat me down with me and we started the company here. And yeah, it was just a fascinating folder as well. And my dad ended up going to Formula One events all around the world. I'll never forget the day we went to Silverstone and there he is. He's on the grid with Boyzone. And I mean, my dad was just really good at what he did. He was one of the guys that helped out with obviously getting the tyres on the grid for Formula One. But that's all now obviously changed. But learning from that, just that folder was fascinating.
Amazing, brilliant, brilliant. Your dad certainly has had a positive influence on you. That's amazing.
Most definitely.
Thanks for sharing that. I really want you to share this folder with me someday then as well. That sounds great. Um, I'd like to ask a question about your industry in particular. What's the sort of challenges that are sort of facing your particular industry right now, and
Yeah,
how you sort of how you sort of get over those challenges or hurdles?
yeah. Supply of course are a big one.
Yeah,
Gas prices have rocketed. So within the fire extinguisher industry, for example, we need to use nitrogen gas and carbon dioxide. Um, I've seen prices get hiked up by 33 to 66% within that region, all over the products that we supply to clients. So having to deal with those costs has been tough. We've tried to absorb as much as we possibly can and not pass on the effects to the customers at the end. But it had to come to the point, I think, in the middle of this year where we had to put a price increase on products that we did supply to clients, which I hate doing because we try to make sure our prices are very, very fair across the market. Not saying that we're the cheapest, but you want to be obviously competitive within the market itself. Um, so yeah, suppliers' costs have been tough. Fuel costs because we do a lot of travelling. I know it's only me, myself in the van, but yeah, your fuel costs are rocketing as well. So yeah, in terms of like main problems, supplier costs have been a big issue. Leaving the EU wasn't too bad. Um, we did have slow supply of stock coming in from Europe. I think we are some of the suppliers now dealing with China, but that's out with my control. I'm only
yeah,
at the mercy of the merchants down in England at the moment who get the stock in. So yeah, that's been probably one of the biggest factors we've been facing at the moment. So getting clients in hasn't been too bad with obviously the techniques that I've been using within the business, but yeah, the last thing you want to be doing is hiking up your prices. But unfortunately, we're at that point at the moment, and hopefully it'll flatline out and hopefully go back to some normality over the next year or two.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely agree with you. And again, speak to business owners a lot, and yeah, they all say they never want to put their prices up. And yeah, it's a bit of that fear sometimes,
Mhm.
of losing a client or something. But it has to be done sometimes, though, Mark? It just again in the current economic situation, then yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Um, Listen, I really appreciate again you coming on today. I've got a couple more questions that I always like to sort of ask with. Then, in fact, before we go into that, I would like to ask one last question in regards to the current situation and everything. Then, what sort of opportunities then do you see for your industry in the next 5 years? Then,
Um, Fire legislation is getting stricter, and the law is changing on, for example, fire risk assessment. So it used to be in place where if you employed 5 people or more, you had to have a
hmm
written fire risk assessment document. Now it's one person. So this will affect a majority of businesses across the United Kingdom.
yeah,
It's all now down to, in Scotland, we classify them as a duty holder. In England, they're classified as a responsible person. That person who's in control of the business will need to understand the legal side of things with under any fire. Well, it's Fire Scotland Act 2005 for Scotland, and the regulatory reform orders as well. So we just need to make sure that they're understanding that fire risk assessments will need to be carried out on their sites. Now they can do this themselves, or they can come and reach out to companies like ourselves, and we can help provide assistance in these with these type of assessments because they are, it's a bit of a minefield, especially if they don't have knowledge within the fire industry. Sometimes reaching out for some expertise is the best thing you can do. So, yeah, that's probably going to be the biggest thing that we're facing at the moment. We've had a lot of calls over the last couple of months for fire risk assessments. Um, and yeah, we're just trying to make sure that companies are following what they need to do as well. It's really difficult for like I was saying, the duty holders to know because there's so much going on within their own business. Even just looking at the fire side of things is a massive bit of work for them as well to
Yeah.
be keeping on top of. So we're kind of here to help carry these assessments. And there's always a bit of aftercare. That's what we offer at JFI. We give a little bit of aftercare as well. We don't just slap a document in front of you and go, right, there you go. That's your fire risk assessment for this year, which should last maybe, 2 to 3 years, as long as there's no structure changes to the building or any major staff changes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we provide a service 2 weeks after the fire risk assessment. We will sit down with the client and they'll ask us all the questions they want about the risk assessment. Why has this been pulled up, or how do we do this? And then what we then do is we then point them into the right direction for help. So we have contacts throughout Scotland who help out, for example, with EICR reports, with passive fire protection. So it doesn't come through us. We take ourselves in away from the situation, and then we're then passing more work on to other businesses throughout Scotland as well. So yeah, it's kind of a good thing. We're sharing the love, shall we say, because the fire industry is massive.
Yeah.
And we at JM Fire, we cannot undertake all the work. It's so hard because we specialise in what the things I've mentioned at the start there, but we need fire alarm companies, we need passive fire protection companies, dry riser companies, fire damper companies. There's so much out there. So yeah, that's what we do. Once the fire risk assessment's done, we then help the client reach out to these other fire protection companies if they need further help. So yeah, I think over the next 5 years, once these legislations start coming, especially up in Scotland as well, I think we could be quite busy, which is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, hopefully, it's always very difficult within the fire industry because you never want to be profiteering from absolutely anything. But all we can do is just give people the right advice. And if they want to take us up on it, then happy days.
Absolutely. And I think what you do is so important.
Mm-hmm.
It's because people's lives, are are at the focus of what you're doing. It's fire protection, and I think what you've just told us there, and some of your answers earlier as well. There's a lot of learning there. I've certainly learned quite a bit there. So, Mark, thanks very much for sharing that information. Um, I have got two more questions, and then we will wrap up. I know I said that earlier, but because again, you've been on an amazing journey, footballer and business owner. If there was any advice that you could give to your younger self when you were 19 years old, you know, what would you say? And also, kind of think of this answer as this question as if someone was watching this who's thinking of going into their own business, what sort of advice would you give?
Learn as much as you possibly can at a younger age. I've kind of done it all in reverse. I'm having to learn as much as I can now, and I'm 30 now, and I'm cramming either CPD courses in every other week, building up my layers of information. With my situation, it was a little bit different. Obviously, coming up through a football academy, all you cared about was football. But if I can give my 18-year-old self advice was to get a trade of some sort that I was a skilled worker in something. But just taking on advice from older people is something I neglected when I was younger. If I could go back and say to myself, "Oh, Joe Blogg said this to me," I probably should have listened. I didn't usually take people's advice that well when I was younger, but now, like we've mentioned there about business gateway and other things like that, advice is just knowledge is worth so much, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, with other people going into other business, if they are looking to start their own business, is don't be scared. Because it's a lot of unknown, out there. If I'm being brutally honest, Mark, it was a scary, scary place. But once you get into it, you just find your feet and you
Yeah.
just go with the flow. There's people out there that will help, and there's always people out there that want to gun you down. There's always your negative people out there, but
Mm.
you just don't listen to them. You just keep focused on what your objective was, and that's the best advice I can give is just ignore all the people out. Oh, there's so much people out there that don't want you to fail, and I love it. That just pushes me on to make the business work even more. You kind of use it as a mechanism to propel your business. And there's people out there going, "Oh, they've started their own business. Oh, good luck to them. I don't think it'll work. See, when somebody says that to me, it's
Yeah,
like, I'll make sure it works.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. It's the right response to have, when someone says that to you. Absolutely.
Mhm.
It just and I think you don't say that to a footballer. You don't say so because you're just then going to be like,
No,
well, I'm going to prove you wrong. It's just going to put fire in your belly.
yeah, I mean, I've
But
been in an environment of competitiveness since I was about 10 years old, and losing, I don't like losing. So yeah, it's a good thing to have.
yeah, yeah. And on that then again, that's my last question in regards to business. But as a football fan, I've got to ask again, you know, I'm speaking to a goalkeeper, professional footballer of Forfar Athletic. You guys at Forfar are doing pretty well at the moment. Maybe slightly better for you know. So, tell me a little bit. To finish off, then tell us a little bit about your sort of football journey and everything. Again, I think people are always interested in footballers. We don't hear a massive amount about people's sort of journeys other than your big stars. David Beckham's got something on
Yeah.
Netflix, you know. So what's it? How's your journey been then as a player?
Um, Crazy. That's probably the right word to describe it because it all started when I was about 10 years old, getting picked up through some youth academies, and then you signed your YTS contract at 16. My journey started at Dundee United, which was a fantastic academy. And at the age of 17, I had a proposal sitting for me to go and sign for Manchester City. And I said no. To this day, biggest regret ever was probably not signing that contract down there. I look back and I find it difficult to actually look back on it as a seven. Well, I'm now 30, obviously, but as a 17-year-old, Manchester City at that point weren't
Hmm.
the biggest club at that point, but there was money there. However, I was a bit of a homeboy, unfortunately, so I decided to extend my contract with Dundee United, which took me up to about 20, and then just the career at that point kind of staggered and didn't get going. Had a few loan spells at a number of Scottish clubs. And then at 21 was hopefully going to be my breakthrough year. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out too well either. So ended up leaving Dundee United at the age of about 23. And I just wanted to come play football somewhere. So I spent a season at Livingston, which I enjoyed. It was back playing football again. And then this is where football started to change for me is when you're out of contract and you're not getting paid. And then you're thinking, oh no, this isn't great. My first son, Ruben, came along when I was 20. I was 23 and a bit. He was born in the May. My contract finished at the end of May with Livingston. And I remember the contract finished, and Jodie, my wife, went to the wife now. She went to me, Mark, what are you going to do? I said, I'll get another club. And that was the first summer where it took me 2 months to find another club. So we had no money coming in for 2 months. I started going, oh, this football malarkey is a bit, you're dicing with death a little bit, There's no money coming in, obviously, with savings, but you start leaning into that quite quickly. So a phone call comes in from the agent at times saying, you want to go and sign for Plymouth? And I just laughed. And I had to look on the map. And I was like, for Christ's sake, it's nowhere near home. So at 23, we hopped down there, probably against my wife's judgment. She went, I don't think it's a good decision, but I signed anyway because I thought I need a job. Signed, and if I look back, I didn't mind my time down there, but for family reasons, I hated it. I really struggled. Jodie didn't settle down there. She came back home after a month. Ruben obviously stayed with his mum, so I had a year down there away from my newborn son. That was really difficult, but probably made me, if you know where I'm coming from,
Yeah.
kind of made me realise what was more important. Um, I think if I didn't have that, it wouldn't help me in good stead to where I am now. So just realising how important family was really important. So at the end of that season, I came back up the road and I said to Jodie, "Oh, I want to extend my contract." And she just looked at me and went, "You dare, you dare sign that contract? I've had a year of not having you here." And to be fair to her, she was like, "Look, just try and make the right decision, but it's going to put a strain on our family." It was. So I ended up saying no to the contract. They've just been promoted to English League One. And a lot of people, my agent was going to say it. He was like, "What are you doing?" big club, good money. And I went, look, sorry, family comes first. I'm turning it down. And at that point, Mark, I had no club, uh, no job lined up. I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing at all. And that's where I had to just kind of go into survivor mode. And I said to Jodie, right, I'll need to find a football club local to us. So we're living in Dundee at the time. Um, Picked up the phone call, started ringing some of the full-time clubs. No, we don't want you. No, we don't want you. So there's a lot of rejection. And then by chance, Forfar, the goalkeeper, so I went, just jumped at it.
Yeah.
Massive, massive pay cut to go part time. For the listeners out there, for the full time to the part time level, the money is the part time level wages are nothing like what you earn at full time. It's just a little couple of quid in your pocket just to you know spend on maybe a family holiday at the end of the year or something. So I had to go and get a job. Mark as well had to get a job. I just went and worked for Amazon. I went, I need a job. I'm going to get any job that I could to get out there. I took the first job that came my way, and it was being a delivery driver for 6 months. And that's where I started having to go, right, I need to get a job where I'll fund the family, um, make sure there's food on the table. We didn't have our mortgage then, thankfully. So I just started putting wheels in motion and started studying within the fire industry. I just don't know where it came from, but just started looking into it, going, oh, join the fire service, what are jobs is around there. And then I got offered a fire protection job 6 months after working for Amazon. So new bit of life came in where I was still playing football, but having to work 9 to 5. So that was brand new. That was a new experience as well, which was really difficult because you've got a kid, working 9 to 5, and then you're training twice a week, and still trying to keep on top of your fitness levels and a game on a Saturday. So it was difficult to start, but if I'm being honest, it was the best decision I ever made was coming home and signing for
Yeah.
Forfar, because now I've been at Forfar for 7 years. Um, Community club, they look after you really well, and within business, obviously, I now have my own business that operates really well. So yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind journey to get to where we are, but I had my wife to support me through the whole lot. Because there were some nights, if I'm being honest, Mark, I was playing no far away from being depressed about walking away from the full time football environment, because once you're in that environment, it's a bit different. Footballers do get old cliches attached to them and that, but they're in their own little bubble, if I'm being brutally honest. And once you come away from that bubble and, in my opinion, enter the real world, you're like, wow, this is difficult. Children come along, and yeah, life got really tough, but she helped us, get through all that. And now we're 2 years into hopefully what's looking like a successful business so far, and hopefully many more years to come at Forfar.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. I'm absolutely inspired by that story. I really am. I think it shows a lot of resilience there,
Mm-hmm.
courage. But also, I think what you said there, and you've mentioned your wife a couple of times, is that what some things are just far more important, aren't they? And
Mm-hmm.
family is so important. If you've got a good family, your dad's been a big inspiration. Your wife's been so supportive of you, and that was brilliant share, Mark. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mark.
No, no worries, no worries. I hope my wife doesn't end up listening to this. She'll be jumping for joy, like, because she doesn't usually get a lot of credit.
I'll tag her in this one. Or if she's on LinkedIn, she'll be getting tagged in. So, and Mark, brilliant. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. It's been one of my favorite interviews. It's been brilliant. Again, just not just because it's football, but also the depth that you've of knowledge actually that you brought and that you've learned and that you're sharing with others, and that's fantastic. So, Mark, thank you so much. Um, all the best to you and your business, GM, fire protection, and to the rest of the season for Forfar Athletic as well. I hope that get some better results in soon, and I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll just need
You
to pick
will.
up some results. We've got Hibernian in the Scottish Cup. That's a good game to look forward to as well
That is
in
something to look
January. So
forward.
there is some positives there. Eh? You got to take the
A-
positives out of it.
Absolutely. Take the positives from everything. Yeah, absolutely, Mark. So thank you so much. All right.
Perfect. Thanks again.